Welcome to Learn Commerce PU online classes. Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Hello my dear students, welcome back to First Commerce Accountancy online classes. Dear students, from the beginning class onwards, we are hearing the sentence like recording the transaction in the books of accounts. Till that, just we studied the theory part of accounting. Okay, so not yet started the practical part of accountancy, that is how to record the transaction in the books of accounts. And in last few classes we discussed about the concepts like the basic accounting concepts and the rules, some of the principles which should be followed by the organization, especially by the accountants when recording the transaction in the books of accounts. Dear students, let's discuss how we can apply the rules. By applying the rules, how we can pass the journal entries in the books of accounts, how we can record the transaction in the books of accounts. Let's see some of the basic rules and regulations to pass the journal entries, to record the transaction in the books of accounts. So here the concept is rules of debit and credit. Each and every transaction affects minimum two different accounts, and all the transaction involves this debit aspect and credit aspect. And we know that debit amount to be debited and must be equal to the amount to be credited. Debit amount should be equal to the credit amount, that we studied in our last classes. So rules of debit and credit. See, all accounts, number of accounts are divided into 5 main categories. How much? 5 main categories. Why these accounts are categorized into 5 groups or divided into 5 groups? Just to record the transaction in the books of accounts. To for the easy recording purpose, these all number of accounts are divided into 5 categories. They are, let's see the one by one. First one is 5 categories or 5 types of accounts, 5 important types of accounts. One is assets, second one is liabilities, third one is capital, fourth one is expenses or losses, and fifth one is revenues or gains. See, these 5 are the important types of accounting. 5 types of accounts. These 5 types of accounting for the purpose of recording the transaction in the books of accounts. And all these types of accounts have its own rules and to record these transactions in the books of accounts. So let's see the rule for recording the changes in asset and expenses. The first rule is to record the changes. In assets or expenses. It is also called as losses, means the rule for record the assets and expenses are same. The rule for record assets and expenses are same. Like first one is increase in asset is debited. Increases in asset is debited. Decreases in asset is credited. Decreases in asset is credited. See, these rules are very important. We need to understand, we need to learn these rules to record the transaction or to pass the journal entries in the books of account. Without having the knowledge of these rules, we cannot pass the journal entries in the books of accounts. So, passing the journal entries are the very important concept in the commerce, means in accountancy, and this passing the journal entries related questions, means in the exam point of view, from the journal entries part 12 marks questions are there from this part. So to score the 12 marks, we need to study this basic rules. Based on these rules, we can pass the journal entries in a simple manner. So increases in asset is debited and decreases in asset is credited. First rule. Okay, increases in asset is debited, decreases in asset is credited, and the next one is the rule for expenses and losses. So changes in expenses or losses. Here increases in expenses or losses is debited. Decreases in expenses or losses is credited. Okay, and the next main is to record the changes in capital, liabilities and revenues. To record the changes in liabilities, capital and revenues or gains. Revenues or gains. The first rule for liability is increases in liabilities is credited. See, opposite to this, here increases in asset is debited, here increases in liability is credited, and decreases in liabilities is debited. And the second one is increases in capital is credited, same rule, and decreases in capital is debited. And one more account is to record the revenues or gains. We need to follow this rule, that is increase in revenues or gains is credited, decreases in revenue or gain is debited. So these are all the basic principles which we should know to pass the journal entries. Without having this knowledge, we cannot pass the journal entries. We cannot record the transaction in the books of accounts. Let's see. Let's see these rules, how these rules are applied in the T format. See, first one is asset. First classification is what? Asset. Right hand side, left hand side and right hand side. Here, increases in asset is debited. Here, this side is debit, this side is credit, we know that. Increases in asset is to be debited. Means, here, increase means what? Plus. The symbol is plus, is debit. Increase in asset is debited, and the same decrease. Decrease means what? Minus is credit. So debit side, credit side, right hand side credit, left hand side debit. So here increase debited, decrease credited. Increase in asset is to be debited, decrease in asset is to be credited. And the next one is to record the expenses. Expenses or losses. Same rule. Okay. So increases in expenses or losses is to be debited. So here increases. Increase means plus debit and decrease. Here minus credit. So increases in asset is to be debited, decreases in asset is to be credited, increases in expenses or losses is to be debited, decreases in expenses or losses is to be credited. Let's see the next in the T format. Next one is liabilities. Left debit, right credit, left debit, right credit. See, liabilities. Liabilities, what is the rule for liability? Increases in liabilities is credited, decreases in liability is debited. Increases in liability is debited, increases in liability is credited, decreases in liability is debited. So here liabilities, increases in liability is credited. Here increases means plus is credited, means credit. Decrease in a liability, decrease in liability is debit. Increase in liability is credited, decrease in liability is debited. Let's see one more type. Capital. Capital. Increases in capital is to be credited, decreases in capital is to be debited. And one more, last account is what? Revenues or gains. Here also increases in revenue or gain is credited. Increases, credited means right hand side, increases credit, decreases debit. So this is how we can apply the rule, means this is the main rule to pass the journal entries. So these, based on these rules we can pass the journal entries. For journal entry, journal is the first book, that is the original entry. For the first time we should record the transaction in the book called journal. So to pass the journal entries, to record the entries in the books of accounts, we need to know, we need to understand these basic rules. This is the, based on this application we can pass the journal entries. So take down the assignment question for this class, that is write the rules of debit and credit of all accounts. That is, you should write all the rules of these accounts, means you should mention the record, to record the changes in asset and to record the changes in liabilities and capital, and that rules include all these. Thank you for watching this video.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.